Hello, and welcome back to the Delve Podcast. Today, we're answering a Reddit question on the topic of self-confidence. And we also have a special guest today, Dr. Andrea Bink. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the executive and clinical director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago. Andrea, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Andrea Bink. I'm a clinical psychologist at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Yay! Please do spread the word with our podcast. We're not trying for fame here. We don't plan to run any ads. We just want to add value and be helpful to as many people as possible. So please do share. Sharing is caring. Please also do follow us on Instagram at Delve Psych Chicago. We love to build our community over there, so please do give us a follow. Here at Delve Psych, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So head on over to our website for a free consultation at delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And do check out our blog on Substack at delvepsych.substack.com.
Yeah, do all those things, please.
Do all of the things all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Every day.
Every day.
Andrea, I'm so happy you're joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Stoked to have you back. If the listener will remember, I tried to play a fake Allie on TV and pretend to be the host for one episode way back when. So this is the first time all three of us are recording together, and I'm also quite thrilled.
Yeah, really fun.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting back to Reddit questions. It's been a minute since we've done one.
Why has it been a minute? What I'm scrolling back here. When's the last time we last did a Reddit question all the way back on December 11th as we record?
I don't know. I think we've just had a lot of other things to say. We had a lot of other topics on our mind, Adam.
Yeah, but I do enjoy these because I think it's such a great window into the way that people are thinking about themselves, thinking about how to support other people. So yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, I try to choose pretty universal ones, topics that I feel like have come up with clients or just in life with friends, and so it's applicable to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So, okay, again, these handles on Reddit, I don't know, do they just assign people these random usernames, or do they come up with these? Because it's weird. This person's username is throwaway 945384.
Okay.
Okay. The title is Genuinely, How Did You Gain Confidence? Okay. He says, I've tried books, the gym, eating healthy, tried having conversations with strangers at the supermarket, upbeat, positive mental attitude, and therapy, but nothing has worked. Honestly, I'm probably the most unconfident person in the world. I just have no belief or faith. I've always struggled socializing and can't imagine I'll ever get past that. But I can't even be confident about other stuff like work or education. Every time I think I've gotten somewhere, I'll get a reality check reminding me just how bad I am. Genuinely, how did you gain your confidence?
I think it's so sad. Did this person said that they're male identified? Is that right?
You know what? I actually am not sure. I think I accidentally said he. We don't know. He, she, they, them. I'm not really sure. But yeah.
Oh, it's in the Ask Men Over 30.
Oh, that's why I said he. It's in the Ask Men Over 30
Reddit.
subreddit.
Yeah, subreddit. Yeah.
There we go.
Which, I mean, it could be somebody with a different gender identity asking men, but regardless. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so sad reading something like this and seeing this sort of the self-condemnation coming down on oneself. And I have some initial thoughts, especially about things like, you know, the externalizations that are happening here and whatever these kind of reality checks are that he says he's experiencing. I'm going to stick with he for now. But no belief or faith. It's just, it's devastating to read this and to imagine the internal world that this person's living in every day.
Yeah. Seems like a really heavy internal world, and especially just the language he's using, right? I have no belief or faith. I can't imagine I'll ever get past my struggles with socializing.
Hopelessness.
I can't be confident about work or education. I'll get a reality check reminding me just how bad I am. Like what signifies bad, and what does he mean by, you know, reminding me how bad I am? Pretty heavy stuff, and you can see how, especially in his language, just if he's talking to himself in this way, you know, most of the time, of course, that's going to affect how he feels.
Yeah, absolutely. So the self-talk element here, I think, is certainly noteworthy. And I think anyone trained in cognitive therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy would kind of pick up on how bad I am being probably a what we would call a core belief, and a particularly disadvantageous core belief in this case. They tend to be self-assignments as well, an I am or I am not kind of statement. And the reason why a statement like that is so caustic is because it starts to paint the world a different color to yourself. If I start with the assumption that I am bad, then these reality checks very likely are evidenced. Like I find the evidence for them in a confirmation biasy kind of way, because I have the predetermined belief that I am bad. And so you're less getting data from the world telling you something about yourself, and more implanting evidence in the world to affirm a belief that you've preordained.
Yeah, and I think also this like the global statement that I do everything bad, or I do everything wrong, or that everything is bad, or I'll never do things better or differently. I think sometimes people forget that, you know, a lot of good things do happen, and they have a bias toward the negative. And it sounds like this is somebody with a bias toward the negative. And so, you know, just filtering out all the positive things that happen and all the positive ways in which they interact with other people. But, you know, yeah, it's easy to just look at the negative and to say, you know, and have that kind of reaffirm your inner world and your inner thoughts, rather than, you know, saying, oh, well, there was this time and that time and that time when things went well. I think that's really hard.
Yeah, like even neutral evidence starts to get framed negatively. So positive evidence can often get discarded completely. And so we have this kind of filtering mechanism that does see the world negativistically. And, you know, humans have a negativity bias at baseline.
Totally.
And so, like, if you aren't experiencing depression, if you will, I have thoughts on that particular labelage, but for another day. If you aren't experiencing depression, you already have a negativity bias. And if you are experiencing depression, we tend to just turn that dial up to 11.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, both of you are reflecting sort of this like confirmation bias of it all. Like there's almost, even though this guy, like, he wants to have more self-confidence, right? I wonder if there's almost a comfort in staying in this worldview of like, I am a failure. I can't do anything right, because it's like, it's affirming the beliefs he already has. Believing anything else that he could be successful would mean he would have to kind of step outside his comfort zone in order to start believing that. That feels kind of scary and uncomfortable. Like, okay, if I can start opening my mind to like, I could be successful in this thing, that means I have to start believing in myself. That means I have to start getting out of bed and doing things that maybe I normally wouldn't, by putting myself out there.
Yeah.
It's such a risk. It's such a kind of a risk of effort. Because if I try, I'm going to expend effort, but it's also a risk of kind of rhetoric. Like if I try and people see me try and then I fail, then I compound the beliefs already existing. Like not only am I bad, but now I've also failed at being good. And now there's no reason for people to believe in me. It just like builds on itself.
Well, also like getting out of your comfort zone is really, it's hard, and it's just hard to figure out like how do you manage, and like when you're out of your comfort zone, when you get to kind of retreat back, things become a little bit easier, and harder at the same time, and that's the rub, is that it seems harder to get out of your comfort zone, but if you do, things tend to get better. But it feels so good to be back in your comfort zone, and things don't seem to, don't get better. I'm struck by how many things this person has tried, like therapy and all of the, like, what were I forget the list, but, even therapy, it wasn't really helpful. And I wonder why, if it just wasn't, it wasn't something that resonated with them, or, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the list was that they tried, but it was pretty extensive.
Yeah. Books, the gym, eating healthy, tried having conversations with strangers at the supermarket. Just trying to force myself to have an upbeat, positive mental attitude, which kind of goes into like toxic positivity, I feel like. And then he mentions therapy. I don't know. I wonder if some of these core beliefs are just so strongly rooted. Like when he says, reminding me just how bad I am, I go to thinking like, who told you that you're bad?
Right. Like, where did that idea come from?
Well, and I do think that, so brief reminder here, talking about the plight of the man is not neglecting the plight of anyone else in any, to any degree whatsoever. And I think that that there is still a lot of male privilege in the world. So I'm not blind to any of that as I say this next thing. So this is in addition to that. I do think that this is the message of failure is one that I think a lot of men are hearing these days. There's social failures, there's professional failures. If you look at the data on performance in the working world, so I think that men still have this stranglehold on the highest positions in most companies, government agencies, most positions of power, most institutions. Men still have a stranglehold on those things, and there is still a golden elevator. But the typical experience of the typical man is that the women in his life are tending to make more money, get further ahead, have more education. The statistics on those numbers have flipped probably since I think it was 2007 or so was the first year that women earned more graduate degrees, and the gap is widening every year. And it is far more common these days than it used to be that men are not making as much money as their female identified partner in cishet relationships. So I think that there are ways in which the narrative about what men are supposed to be is incompatible with the reality that they're actually living in. And that feels like failure.
Yeah, we've sort of redefined, as women's roles have been changed and redefined, right? That inadvertently changes what like the male role, like what men's roles are today. But now what sort of standard are we comparing? Like what's the benchmark, I guess, what's the new benchmark now that these things have changed and the roles are not as defined as they were in like the 50s, right? Like what is the benchmark now that like men are supposed to like look to?
I think even if you boil it down to just this person, like what are the expectations, right? I talk to strangers, I go to the gym, I do all this stuff. Like what is the expectation? What is this person's definition of confidence? That's what I would want to ask. I would want to say, like, what does it mean to be confident in the world, and what does that look like? Because it sounds like they're doing some of the things that build confidence. I'm going out and doing stuff. I'm trying things. I'm working. I'm doing all this stuff. So what's the definition of confidence? What does that look like? What does it look like not to be confident? Same thing with success and failure. Like I feel like a failure. What does that mean to be, to be successful? What does it mean to be a failure? Yeah, those are some of the questions that I would want to know, because because sometimes they're not as clear cut for
because
individuals.
interior to yourself, you've
Yeah.
sort of constructed this world, this vision of what confidence looks like. So what's that picture, and why is that even maybe a good thing to pursue?
Yeah, because you could be like, people in my family were really confident and they went and did all these, like these certain things, and then you learn this definition through the people you hang around with or your family or whatever, and that might not, for other people you may seem really confident, but also to yourself feel like you're not. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to discount this person's experience, but I would want to question the terms and have them define what that means to them.
Yeah, which I think is so important too, because it kind of it looks at the construction of the entire narrative, the sort of cognitive structure that is undergirding this kind of emotional experience, for sure.
Yeah, and then you can get to things like you were talking about, Adam, which is like, is this a socio-cultural construct that you're really trying to fit yourself into, that either doesn't fit for you or isn't working for a lot of people, right? And then you can have that broader conversation, which is not just about me as a person, but about, the larger context, which is what I think I'm drawn to say, like let's kind of move out of how you feel about yourself and more about how you're interacting with the world and the world's interacting back with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we started with the cognitive and internal world, and I think we're kind of moving out into the external, which I think is important too.
It becomes behavioral, which ultimately in our framing is very much about the kind of intentionality and aligning yourself with your vision of the world, which is a way of sidestepping the question of confidence, but also a way of building confidence, is to begin to behave yourself in the manner in which you mean to live your life, is a way of having confidence in the plan for yourself. But also there's that kind of perceptual piece, which is like, how do I filter in the information, the reality checks? How do I filter those in to my world in a relational, systemic, or cognitive way too? And I just also want to add, I think the relationships, so I think I can offer a couple of potential universals here that might be true for everyone regardless. And I don't think these are gendered either. I think this does go back to a concept that we've talked about quite a lot on the pod, which is the idea of the co-created self. You don't gain confidence from the inside out and just express it in the world, and there it is. Confidence is identity. Identity is built with others, in consort with others. And so I think that whatever kind of view of yourself you're ultimately wanting to achieve has to be constructed with people around you. So then the question is, who are you close to? What are the relationships that are important in your life? And I do think that that's missing in this conversation. Is like, we don't know anything about his friendships. We don't know anything about his familial ties. We don't know anything about his romantic relationships per se. But I'm quite certain that they're having a role to play in exactly what we're talking about right now. I do not exist on my own. I am made out of the perceptions of others. And if the relationships are affecting him, then building those relationships, maybe building new relationships, but certainly with people that are going to help to affirm who he means to be, will affect this confidence game. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Like, if he really, and again, this requires him kind of looking at his own value system. But like, if he values being a good friend, and he, goes to his friends for feedback on like, hey, am I good friend? Am I a good buddy old pal to you? And they're like, yeah, you're really thoughtful. You really show up for me. You know, that could foster some confidence, because that's part of who he means to be. And he's getting the direct feedback that, yeah, you're meeting the moment. You're actually maybe even going above and beyond, as a friend. And yeah, that's what comes to mind for me as you're talking about that.
And sorry to make it gendered again, but I've been in male friendships, both enlightened and not, and some of them ain't that deep. So I think that that's one of the problems here, is that I think that men building relationships with other men often doesn't lead to a lot of kind of affirmation. There's a probably viral Instagram video that goes around where a bunch of guys are playing Call of Duty or some video game with one another, and one of them asks on the mic, like, if I was going through something hard, would you be there for me? And the next 3 minutes are them laughing about how much they would like very intentionally make it worse on him. Like, no, man, I'm gonna tell your mom that, like, it's just like razzing him the whole time. And there's such a razzing kind of culture to male friendships that means that it is devoid of the things that might actually affirm you. It's devoid of any uplifting kind of messaging that would tell you that what you're doing is okay, or the way that you view yourself is okay. And then I do think that in general, men are struggling to develop relationships at all. Their male-to-male friendships are often devoid of affirming kind of views. And then their relationships with women are often sexualized. And so like the casual relationships with women or trans individuals are non-existent or are sexualized. And so it's just sort of like, well, where are you going to get it from? Where are you going to get positivity and connectivity from, as a general rule?
Yeah, I could clearly picture, as you were describing, that whole like gaming group of men just like giving him such shit for like trying to ask like a real deep question, because yeah, that would require those men to like sit in their feels for a second.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I think men can forge really deep and long-standing bonds with each other, and I think that, I mean, I like that you're talking about that, because I think that it's possible, and it's happened. And historically, men had very, very close relationships, loving relationships with each other that, you know, weren't romantic in that sense, but, you know, definitely deep. And, you know, I wish men would get back to that, actually. I think it would be really great. I think it's really sweet to see when, you know, when you see representations of it, which there are a few on television. There's a few that I think it's really lovely and it's really nice.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that there is a segment of the population around this age, actually, that is trying to do that much more so. But, you know, again, he says this idea of like reality checks of how bad I am. I wonder how many of those are the times when he's trying to connect with somebody emotionally. I'm guessing here. I'm really conjecturing here, but like trying to connect with somebody emotionally, trying to be confident with someone emotionally. And then, you know, it just doesn't stick, because it takes two people trying to do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Where are you going to go?
I was also going to add, I think that the other universal I'll throw into this is I believe that there is an intimate relationship between confidence and shame. And I think that people in society right now are walking around with a lot of shame. And I don't think that we're really taught how to interact with it, how to build a different relationship with it. And it's amongst the hardest emotions to deal with. I think things like embarrassment acutely, but shame in a prolonged way, it's devastating on the psyche, devastating on the identity, devastating on your kind of relationships by way of the way that you interact with them. It's just such a gut punch to anything related to kind of psychic cohesion.
Do you think that shame kind of hides under the surface a lot of times? Like, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like underlying a lot of things and sort of like just kind of pops up now and again.
I'm starting to think that it is a low-level hum for much of the world, especially sort of the American culture in particular. I think it's sitting just under the surface because I think that there are, not to get too systemic again, but I do think that a lot of people are struggling on a lot of the fronts that indicate the kind of stability that we're told we're supposed to have.
Mhm.
So that's the financial securities, that's the like asset acquisition, having kids, having a house, having a family, having a car, living in a nice neighborhood, all these things. I think a lot of people are struggling to do that. And the historical narrative about that, especially in the West, has been, if the West is such a thing, that's another thing we could get into at some point. But anyway, especially in America, it's a thing that has been your fault if you don't achieve.
Mhm.
And I hear this from so many clients along different assets. There's axes. There's not enough. I don't have enough stored away in terms of my investments. I don't have the family life that I expected to have by the age that I have. I don't have the partner that I was expected to have. I don't have the, all of the above. It's like the I don't have statements are all over the place.
Mhm.
And to some degree, that's a matter of personal framing, I think, but it's still shameful. And also, I think it's a matter of like, you don't have because they don't give anymore. Like the system itself is giving less.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's access to less. So but that still feels shameful if I'm then narrativized by family, by friends, by the structures that be, that's a failing of my own.
Right.
Yeah.
And how much is this person's identity wrapped up in whether they've, met this certain number of dollars in their salary or have this certain house or this certain car? Like how much of their identity is wrapped up in these like material successes? And is that really how you want to like measure who you are or what you care about? And I know we've talked about before, like how do you parse out what is like your own values, your own personal values versus like what are the values that society has just like put on you and told you like this should be what is most important in your life. And especially if these standards are so high, like I feel like now a lot of like Gen Z sees these influencers and YouTubers and how much money they have. These people are like millionaires at like age 18 and they're like, oh man, if I don't get that, then I'm a failure. It's like, what? Like that's like such a high impossible standard. Like setting yourself up to fail, like to have that standard for yourself.
Well, and you will fail to live up to your personal life will fail to live up to the manicured life you see on Instagram every single time. But that's so hard to realize because like I hate making a biological evolutionary argument. I know Andrea does too. But like we are not wired to view real data and approach it with that kind of skepticism about the reality of it, like this cultivated self. If you take the kind of raw hardware that I think we come to the table with, if it saw a person living away, then it's like, okay, that's how they live. That it makes sense that I would like read that and see that as a reality. And it's not built for Instagram, which can so carefully construct a reality. It's not built for Hollywood, which can so carefully construct a reality. And we get some of the caustic elements of our society out of it. One of them, I think, is romanticism, and the kind of like the awe and the butterflies of romantic relationship as well. Which, again, I would be stunned if that's not hiding the background of this Redditor's thinking too.
Yeah. It goes back to my question, like how do you define success? Like if you define success as having things and having money and that outward expression of I guess success, what we're gonna what we're saying, if you're not looking at like what are the inward qualities that I need to have to cultivate to have success, or what are the social aspects of success, what are the, it's so multidimensional. And so I think it's easy to look on the surface and say I'm not successful and even not confident, when the reality is like there's more to the story than just fame and money, or good looks and lots of friends, or whatever else you want to put on it, surface level stuff,
And it's such a matter of internal framing for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
And we're such a byproduct of that as well, like through no fault of our own. We are affected by these views that we're surrounded by, and we don't realize when we've internalized them. There's no bell that goes off that says that you just internalized a caustic message from society. You just do it and then propagate that throughout your entire life. It's so hard to self-examine and spot those.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so I guess on this just broader question of, because I have heard people say how do I become confident? how do I become that person that has a good self-esteem? And I've seen this sort of pop psychology of putting positive affirmations on your mirror and saying them I am a strong, independent woman, which great. Maybe that does help you. I don't know.
What's the Stuart Smiley quote? I'm good enough.
and people like me. I'm good enough. I'm
smart enough.
And
gosh darn it.
People like me. Yeah.
I have not heard that, but
yeah, it's very cute. Yeah.
But I wonder how much that really works, right? Sort of drilling these statements into yourself to make yourself be more self-confident. And I feel like it's much more of an experiential experiential task, building self-confidence. I don't know, maybe that's setting little goals based on your values, just outside of your comfort zone, and rising to the occasion. Of course, there's the risk that you don't rise to the occasion, but if you were to set those little stepping stones of things that you care about in your life, and you set yourself up for success, it's not a huge a huge leap to meet the moment in this goal that you have. Set yourself this little goal and you meet the moment. Maybe that does foster some confidence of oh, hey, I did that thing, Yeah,
I mean, I think so my thing about affirmations is they can work, but they can't be untrue. You have to feel like they're true. They have to be you can't say I'm the most brilliant person in the world if that's not what you think. If you think that, great, but that's that affirmation.
Then we got other problems.
You might have other problems there. Right. Exactly right. But the affirmation has to feel somewhat genuine to you and to your experience. And so, yes, you can set them, but they also have to be within, a range of possibility or belief or whatever. I also think you're right about setting small goals and doing things is the best way to confidence. But it's okay, do I do the thing? Okay, if I want to go talk to somebody, right? And I get to the grocery store, I get dressed, I go to the grocery store, I'm in the grocery store, I attempt to do it. Is that enough or is that failure? What are we calling failure? What are we calling success? Setting the goal really, I think really low is very helpful. I tried is success, right? And so I think that matters too, that we're not saying right, we're making this what is the smallest thing that you can do to feel confident today, to do something that you want to do that makes you, I don't know, gives you some satisfaction, because we're not looking for happiness, we're not looking, we're just looking for a series of things that you're doing that that are moving you towards your goals, moving you towards your values. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's really important. So I agree with you. I just even want to set the bar lower to say, like, I left the house, and that's like, if I leave the house, I did okay, and then see what happens after that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys
absolutely.
agree with me or not, but I feel like that's like, I think we set those kind of goals like way too high sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially for
Well,
somebody who says, I tried all these things and they're just not working.
Yeah, which again itself is the narrative I think you're
Mhm.
getting to is like, again, like, how are we defining what that is? I think within the point you're making, I just want to kind of uplift this idea of, like, if you have a vision for the way that you want to live your life, then intention toward that is the thing.
Yeah.
And so if you try it and fail, job done.
Mhm.
Pat yourself on the back and do it again.
Right.
I think because we've got such fear of the shame in our lives, we've also got such a fear of failure.
Mhm.
And you must fail. One of the nicest things that one of my mentors ever said to me is, I want you to fail.
Mhm.
Now, why is that nice? Because I was in an environment where he wanted me to try things. He wanted me to take shots and risks and make efforts and attempts. So saying, I want you to fail, is an invitation to take risks and understand that your environment is safe enough for you to do so. So that means that the environment itself is really important, like how you surround yourself, but also then what risks do you take? To Andrea's point, more broadly, like, try some,
Mhm.
set them small,
Mhm.
and I would add, and make sure that it's just really consistent with how you think you're meaning to kind of live your life. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
That's enough. You don't need to be more than that.
Can I give an example
Sure.
Please.
that I think might be helpful, or maybe not? I don't know. When I first started working out, I was like, because I was like, I got to work out, I got to work out, I got to work out. And I was like, I was intimidated by the gym. I was intimidated by, it's like all the equipment, and I didn't know what to do. So I started with, okay, I just have to put my shoes on. That's all I have to do. And then I had to get dressed. And then if I didn't go to the gym, I didn't go to the gym, but I succeeded because I got dressed. Then I had to actually drive to the gym, and then I had to go into the gym, and I had to get on the treadmill for 5 minutes. So it was a progression of successes, because the bar was so low. And then, I think within like 3 weeks, I was at the gym, I was working out, I was getting more comfortable with the environment, because there wasn't like this big failure that was ever going to happen, because it was just these small little steps. And I think that's where I gained confidence to go to the gym, ask questions, start, it was just a little at a time. I think sometimes I talk to people and they're like, I want to work out. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, I went to the gym and I didn't, and it just, there's so much defeat in it. And I'm like, let's build success along the way. Like, you put your shoes on, great. You didn't make it to the gym, you've got your shoes on, that's awesome. You drove to the parking lot, you didn't feel like going in, you got there. That's really good. And I think some people, it depends on where you are in life and what you want to accomplish, but I think for me, that's always been a measure, that's been my entry into things, and to gain confidence in doing stuff, is to do it just like these little bite-sized things that maybe aren't meaningful in the long run, but you group them all together, and you end up somewhere where you want to be. And
How do you convince yourself, if you don't mind my asking, how do you convince yourself that on day 2, putting on your shoes and not going to the gym is going to the gym, or is success? Like, what's the cognitive work you're doing there?
I think it's I have to do something, and I have to start somewhere. And I don't feel I've been thinking about this for 5 months, 2 years, and I haven't done it. So any movement forward is success. And so if I build on each success, then eventually I'm going to get to where I want to go.
Okay, I also would ask then, how do you deal with the days, because they're inevitable? Day 5, I didn't do anything. I didn't even put on my shoes.
I think you start over. You just got to start over. You
Hmm.
let it go and you start over. You start fresh. I did it for 5 days. I didn't do it yesterday. Okay, where did I leave off? And let's start where I left off. And I think that's one of the things, that's the discipline that comes in, as you start where you left off. And then you keep moving forward.
It reminds me of
for
that
me.
guy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that guy that's started in the 80s trying to walk the entire world. He started in the southern tip of Argentina, at Patagonia, and literally has been walking the entire world. He's made it all the way back around to like Eastern Europe at this point. I think he's in Bulgaria or Hungary or something like that. But he did take breaks. He goes home. He flies home to England every so often. But he just goes back to if he left off in where if he left off in Azerbaijan, then he goes back to Azerbaijan and starts again.
Yeah. Begin where you are. We talked about that on our last podcast.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that goldfish mentality you talk about, Adam, where it's like they have a 3-second memory. It's like, okay, I don't care what you did yesterday. If you failed to do the thing yesterday, what are you doing now? What are you doing today? Like
Ted Lasso.
There you go. All right. I think we should move on to our new quote, but Redditor, I hope this was helpful. Try to reflect on the bars that you're setting for yourself, and maybe start smaller. And man, we threw a lot of different nuggets out there, talking about like, what is your definition of confidence, and what is your definition of success, and where did those stem from, and what do you actually value versus just, what society is telling you to value, and watching how you talk to yourself. All these things are things to consider. All right, moving on to the quote of the day. Dun, 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 dun. I think I should do that from now on. Dun, 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 dun. I just came out, so I'm gonna go with it.
Canon is born.
Uncertainty may just be inevitable. What are my first thoughts on this? I mean, there's so much in life that's uncertain, and we try to find certainty because I think we feel safer and more in control when we're more certain about things. I don't know. My mind is going towards like OCD is all about like wanting certainty and not like living in the uncertainty of things, and doing that through compulsions, and how that's not helpful. We've come to find out. Yeah,
I think that there's such a kind of a drive to try to maximize certainty as much as we can. But similar to something Andrea was sharing, I think the brain is such a brilliant bullshit detector that if you're tricking yourself into believing that you've got certainty when you don't, you'll feel that. And maybe that sits in the subconscious or unconscious kind of level. But I bet you we've all been there where we're sort of like, I got this in the bag, or this is a sure thing, or I've set everything up just right so that I'm confident that it is going to go the way that I want it to. And there's that little niggling feeling in back there somewhere that's like, I don't think you do. I don't think this is. It might not be, right? Like you kind of have this internal felt sense of almost like over specifying the situation. And I think there's probably broader questions about why we do this why we do this certainty, like super prescribing kind of thing that we seem to do. But it's probably futile because I don't know what's going to happen. Do y'all?
No. No, I think, yeah. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about uncertainty lately, and yeah, it's an uncomfortable place for people to be, and we're in it almost all the time. And I think we can, I don't know, we can pretend that things are certain, like Adam was saying, or we could just be kind of like, I don't know, open to possibilities, which I think is also very hard for people. I think it's, yeah, uncertainty is difficult, and like my remedy is that we don't know what's going to happen, and especially if you are a catastrophizer, you're trying to take control of your life, or that you just think about all, like, multiple possibilities, like the worst thing that can happen, the best thing can happen, and a million things in between, and open yourself up to the possibility of any of those, and then you start to become curious rather than scared of uncertainty. I think you can kind of build in that curiosity that can help.
Yeah.
I feel like we try to be certain so that we can like be prepared when the thing happens. If we can like predict, do some like future telling of like, oh, this thing is going to happen, and because of that I'll be prepared because I can foresee that thing will happen. And it's like life is gonna life, and you don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm kind of fine with people doing the plan. Like, planning's fine. Planning for contingencies is fine. I don't think it's that big a problem, as long as we also do the other thing, which is to say, okay, great, you gamed out one scenario in your head, or 7 scenarios in your head. And if they go down that particular path, you're right. You are very prepared for that. Well done. Bet you it goes different than that. I don't know how, neither do you, but I bet you anything it goes a little different than that. And so you're going to have to stay curious and nimble and adapt to the situation according to the goals, needs, and values. Like, you've got to go back to, who am I trying to be and what am I trying to be? And that will be your guiding light in periods of true uncertainty or upheaval.
I think problem solving your way out of uncertainty can become really time consuming. And you can get into this, like I thought of every scenario that could possibly ever happen. You haven't. And I've worked it out. I know if, whatever happens, I'm prepared for. You're not. But, I think that's when people get into that, like, I've spent hours trying to figure this out, and I know exactly, I'm prepared for anything. And almost inevitably, it's like, did any of those happen? No, it was something completely different. But God forbid it does happen one time, then you're completely reinforced in that behavior, and you're going to keep trying to think your way out of stuff, because sometimes it does. Sometimes it's like, I thought of that and it happened, and I knew what to do, and then you're stuck.
See, I knew it was going to go that way.
Yeah, it's totally
after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Adam, I like what you said of like, in those times where things go haywire completely, not as you predicted, going back to like those goals, needs, and values as your guiding light. And going to that is sort of like that can be kind of comforting, and that you have that there in those times when things go completely sideways.
Well, and that can be the thing. So we're talking about confidence in this episode. That can be the thing that you're confident in, is I know what I'm trying to do and be.
Exactly.
And so if things go badly, I'm going to keep trying to do and be that. Not
trying to fit yourself into other people's idea of what you should be, knowing who you are. Because that's really good. I like that.
Well, thank you. You all are very complimentary. You all are very good.
This has been a great podcast. And Andrea, come back as often as you'd like, because I really enjoyed not just talking to Adam. No.
Me too.
Me too.
As always, really please do follow us on Instagram at Delve Psych Chicago. Spread the word about our podcast. And if you're interested in our services, head on over to delvepsych.com for a free consultation call. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.